Franchise Growth Show. I am your host, Joe Carter. Today we are talking about franchising, but not from a growth perspective. Because a lot of brands franchise in order to grow revenue, but very few build the right franchise systems that can actually scale and sell. Revenue is a byproduct, but value is ultimately the objective. And value is created when a business is scalable, transferable, and not dependent upon the founder. Today, I'm joined by Kent Adams, founder of Adams Franchising and co-founder of multiple franchise brands as well. Kent, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you having me.
100%. Yeah, if you don't mind, let's get started, kind of origin story, so to speak. Give us a quick overview of your background and how you got into building franchise brands.
Sure. Well, I'm pretty much a franchise guy. I've been in the industry for about 35 years. I've owned and operated 7 different brands over the years and been involved with development of several different brands. I guess I kind of got into franchising because my mom was actually, she was a single mother, school teacher, and then actually got the opportunity to purchase the very first Maid Brigade franchise in the United States. She opened that in Fredericksburg, Virginia, back in the 80s. That's when I was in high school. And I kind of saw, she had some success with that. Ended up, kind of selling her half of it to her business partner. But then the president of the company came back to her about 6 months later and said, hey, we're dividing the country up into regions. Would you be interested in being a regional owner and developing a territory? And she again took a leap and did that. And she developed 27 franchises over Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, Delaware, and basically did that for 20 years. And so that's kind of how I got introduced to franchising and got the franchise bug. So like I said, I've owned a bunch of different brands over the years. And most recently, back in 2022, I co-founded Black Optics Tent Franchising with my business partner, Randall Moore. And we grew that to about 50 locations. And then we were kind of trying to figure out, we had a very small team and trying to support our franchisees properly and figuring out how to grow properly. Called my friend Ray Titus, who's the CEO of United Franchise Group. Said, hey, Ray, I really need some advice. He's like, I'm happy to give you some advice, but, I'd really be interested in talking to you guys about partnering. So that's kind of what happened. Last May, we flew down to United Franchise Group in West Palm Beach, sat down with Ray and the team, and by July, we had a deal. And so we partnered with United Franchise Group. Randall and I still own part of the business. UFG owns part of the business. Have continued to grow since then. So just it's been an exciting ride. And, at this point, I'm kind of more hands off with Black Optics. Sit in on a weekly team meeting, planning meetings, and that type of thing. But Randall is the president of the brand, so he's more involved in the day to day. My focus right now is finding other good brands to invest in and grow.
I love it. You've been on every side there is, really, in the franchising space, building the brands, investing in the brands, helping others to franchise as well. And you've certainly seen what works and what doesn't. So I can't wait to dive into that. So within that realm, from your perspective, what separates a franchise that scales from another that maybe struggles?
Well, that's a I guess a multifaceted answer, but really, we like brands that have good leadership, good sharp management teams in place, that ones that are replicatable. Obviously, if you want to scale, you need to be replicatable. The ability for the franchisor to scale and open a lot of locations, and really a differentiator, I think, is important. Something that makes your product or service or system unique.
I love that. Most brands attempt to scale complexity, but simplicity generally will work, and certainly differentiation is a big piece of that as well. So what is the difference between like franchising a business and building a scalable franchise brand?
Well, that's a tough question. The difference between, repeat that if you don't mind.
Sure. What's the difference between just building a franchise and building a scalable franchise?
Right. Yeah, well, that anybody can build a franchise. Just put put together an FDD and operations manual, and you've got a franchise. But being able to scale it, you really need a good team behind you. You need a good sales team, you need a good legal team, you need a good marketing team. So it's just really about putting the right people in the right places, I think.
Couldn't agree more. Generally speaking, franchises are just a distribution model. You got to have the capacity to distribute that to other people so they follow your playbook and have close to, if not equal, the level of success that you had at the corporate level pre-franchise. Where do kind of most founders go wrong when they decide to turn their business into a franchise?
Well, I think some probably try to do it a little bit too quickly. You really need to have proof of concept. It doesn't have to be multiple locations, but at least your pilot, your flagship location needs to be doing well financially. And there's no hard and fast numbers, but I think most franchisees would like to see concepts that you're going to be able to net $150,000 a year or more. I think that's kind of the sweet spot. Really just making sure you've got a really good first 2 or 3 stores. If you got 2 or 3 stores that are producing well, then that's ideal.
Couldn't agree more. Franchising too early is a very common mistake before you have kind of those unit economics. They're proven and vetted. Systems are fully documented. Performance is consistent, not kind of up and down. All those types of things. So I couldn't agree with you more there. Speaking of unit economics, let's talk about those for a moment. What are kind of those normal unit economics that have to be true for a model to be franchise ready?
Right. Yeah. Well, again, I think, a lot of people look for a franchise that, is going to be doing anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million a year in revenue and, $150,000 to $200,000 in net, or at least the opportunity to do that. Not all stores obviously are going to do that. Not every franchisee is created equally. So, obviously you've got the $1 million stores and you have the $200,000 stores.
Yep, I agree. Revenue certainly is a big piece of that, but profitability, scalability, all those kinds of things are, I don't want to say more important, but definitely equally as important as revenue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What is the sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you got a store that's doing $1 million a year in revenue, but only making $50,000 in profit, that's not real exciting.
Heck yeah, it's not. That's margin compression. That was kind of where I was going with my next question. So great segue. Where do most of those brands underestimate cost structure or margin pressure when it comes to being corporate owned versus franchise driven?
Right. Well, I think really what we've seen is a lot of folks just aren't willing to spend enough on marketing to get the revenue where it needs to be. It's pretty much any franchise, you have to be a salesperson, or you have to have a good salesperson. If you're not the salesperson, hire a good salesperson, because you've got to drive revenue. That's the bottom line.
Couldn't agree more. Revenue growth is kind of step one to launching your franchise, and then certainly you want to ensure that your cost control measures are in place. You're getting strong ROI, and then the investments you're making in marketing, recruiting, etc.
Well, we always look at we always measure our KPIs every month and have about I think pretty much any franchise, any business in general should have 5 to 10 KPIs that they're looking at on a monthly basis to make sure they're on track, and being able to compare themselves to other franchisees is very important as well. If somebody's labor costs are way out of bounds, then we want to be able to address that and kind of rein that in. If your cost of goods sold is way out of bounds, we want to figure out what's going on. Is there a lot of waste? What's going on? So just keep an eye on the KPIs, P&Ls, just making sure that make sure you're making money. You don't want to be it's tough to be in business for yourself. You don't want to be putting in all that work and sweat and blood and money and not being profitable. So
100% agree. 100% agree. How about systems? You mentioned marketing already, but what are some of those kind of just inherent systems that need to be there for a brand to be successful in the franchise space?
Yeah, well, I think the recruiting, hiring, and training. Obviously, your people are really your most important asset in any business, franchise or non-franchise. So you need to have a really tight system for for recruiting, hiring, training, ongoing development and support. So I'd say HR is really your most important system.
Yeah, HR is a big one for sure. And how does having those systems in place assist the capacity to duplicate that model consistently over numerous locations that are potentially geographically very widespread?
Yeah, well, I think that's the whole process that makes you be able to expand, is that you do have these systems. You don't have to recreate a new system or a new set of, a new playbook for every single location. You've got that playbook that you can just use over and over and over again. So you just find good people, find good operators, and then implement, make sure they're following the system, make sure we're supporting them properly, and that's the way to grow.
Couldn't agree more. It's almost like the more simple the better in reality that those things can be, because they got to be able to be absorbed and implemented, to your point, by virtually anybody with different types of backgrounds. There's certainly alignment that's necessary and needed, but you might have somebody who's coming from a completely different industry. If they can follow a really simplistic implementation of your playbooks and be able to generate success, that helps them, that helps you, that helps the brand, everybody wins in that scenario.
Right. That's it. Just, keep it so that we've got people in our franchises from every background there is, former PT guys, guy that ran PT therapy, IT folks, people from the automobile industry. We actually have a guy who worked for SpaceX, and is one of our Black Optics 10. He's literally a rocket scientist and just wanted to get out of that world and do something on his own. So it's pretty interesting.
That's pretty cool. I'm not sure I've heard rocket scientist turned franchisee before, so you got me on that one. That was pretty cool.
But he loved it.
Yeah. So you've mentioned a few already, but you've worked across multiple brands. When did it make sense to expand into multiple different concepts?
Oh man, I guess that's a great question too. It's really just I'm just always looking to do something new. Just always looking to grow, just to learn. Really, I feel like I'm going to be a lifelong learner. So I'm more of a startup guy. I'm not a great operator by any means, and I know that about myself. So most of the franchises I've owned, I've looked for units that are underperforming and undervalued as well, and try to kind of buy them at a bargain, follow the system and turn them around, grow them significantly, and then exit and then look for the next thing.
I love it. It's almost like that flipping house mentality, just applying it to franchise space. Find one that you can apply it and turn it around, make some money, and go to the next one. Yeah, so I don't know if that's a good analogy for you or not, but that's what popped in my brain.
I mean, some people look at it, they want to get in the business and own it for 5, 10, 20 years. And, first few, I went in with that mentality as well, but then I realized that I get bored being a day-to-day operator. So after a year or 2 or 3, I'm just, it's like, okay, I get antsy, you got to do something else.
Love that. I know you've mentioned KPIs somewhere between 5 and 10 is the general kind of sweet spot for most organizations to be tracking consistently, but how do you build accountability across an entire franchise system that could have between a few franchisees to maybe even a few hundred? So how do you have that kind of accountability built within them?
Yeah, well, it's just, we have to set the expectations up front, and we actually have business advisors who work directly with the franchisees to kind of go through, their KPIs and meet with them on a monthly basis and make sure they are tracking the right way. So that's really the way, that's the way we do it, is through our business advisor.
I love it. Having a coach almost. Exactly. Somebody's going to help you from that, help you do the execution and hold you accountable too when you're maybe not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that's fantastic.
And these are guys who have been in the business and run stores, before. So they're not just guys we hired off the street. So they're guys who've done it, and so they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, nothing beats experience. So you can throw something in ChatGPT all day long, but it's somebody who's walked that path before that can tell you, you are about to stumble right here. So why don't you go this way so that you don't hit that hurdle or walk into that blockage or whatever it may be that they can foresee that AI is like the cool thing nowadays, but it's not always going to be able to help you forecast somebody as much as somebody who's walked it with you that can do. So when should a founder of a company really think whether or not they should become a franchise? When's that point in time that makes sense for them?
Yeah, I guess it's really up to the individual, but I think when they say, hey, I want to expand, whether they've got a lot of guys just might have one location or two locations or what have you, and they're thinking about expanding, and they really need to have that conversation with themselves or someone like me that would say, hey, it's going to cost you $500,000 to open an additional corporate location, or you can spend maybe $75,000, $100,000, $150,000 and launch a franchise or operation and be able to expand nationwide, with hundreds of locations for less than what it would cost you to open one more corporate store. So, and that's what I love about franchising is that, you're mitigating your risk. You're able to grow without using your own efforts, your own money. You have franchisees that are investing their time and money into your system. So I just think it's a smart way to grow.
I say that all the time to people that I'm talking about this, interested in doing that. I'm like, you're going to invest a little bit, but ultimately every investment thereafter is done through the franchisee level and you're reaping the benefits. You just got to make sure that they can execute your model without you having to be there. Yeah. So founder independence is certainly a big piece of that.
Absolutely.
Now flipping to the opposite side, there's a franchise brand out there that's doing really well. What are the things about brands that attract those kind of serious, high-level, multi-unit type operators, the ones that are looking for those area development deals and things like that you referenced?
Right. Well, it usually kind of comes down to the simplicity of it, and they feel like they can actually be a absentee or semi-absentee type owner. So it has to be a simple system. But the unit economics is usually what it's all about. So they're going to be looking at something that is going to be able to scale and have, pretty significant revenues and, a really good return on investment. So, again, I think, most of them are going to look for those concepts that are going to be able to generate $150,000 or $200,000 in net profit.
I love that. And multiple franchisors and founders that I work with and or know of within the space are beginning to think about potential exits down the road of actually selling off that franchisor system to private equity, venture capitalists, whatever. What would make a franchise brand attractive to that level of a buyer to buy out that entire concept?
Right. Well, again, quite frankly, it's going to be the unit economics. It's, these private equity groups are looking at the bottom line. So, they want to see a strong EBITDA and, franchises get a much higher multiple on the EBITDA than just a typical business. I've been in mergers and acquisitions for about 10 years as well. So done a lot of transactions, franchise and non-franchise. And it's interesting that, once you get up to about a probably $2 to $3 million EBITDA, whereas if it's just a typical business, you might get a 5 or 6 multiple on that. As a franchise operation, you can get 10 or 12 or 15. It's pretty amazing because it's got that recurring revenue. It's almost guaranteed recurring revenue that you're buying. Franchisor operations are very attractive to private equity groups. I mean, they're getting scooped up every day.
I know. It's an increasing trend I've seen over the last probably couple of years that PE are buying them up, especially if it's one that is on the precipice of being able to get to that level that they can just throw a bunch of money at from a marketing standpoint, but everything else is already there, and they can exit to the next level in like a 3 to 5 year timeline and do a 10 to 12x on their original investment. Like that's the stuff they're buying and scooping up, and they're certainly looking for kind of the verticals that can be pieced together as well. So there's a lot of trends that are emerging in the private equity space on franchise. I'm glad we're seeing and or feeling very similar things because that tells me that my sources are probably telling me accurately. So that's good news.
Right.
Where do you think founders are leaving value on the table potentially in those types of exits?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. Yeah, I'm not sure I can't even put a finger on that one.
At least from what I've seen, certainly, generally speaking, the royalty piece is there. That's that recurring revenue that like a private equity type buyer is going to be super interested in. But having a substantial tech stack, there's a significant differentiation in terms of what your EBITDA multiplier is going to be if you have a strong proprietary IP system than if you're just using HubSpot or Salesforce or something else that you don't officially own. So those are just a couple that I've seen personally, but I'm sure there's a million others as well. What are those biggest mistakes that you're seeing in terms of franchise space, franchise growth, buyers, franchisors, wherever? What are those kind of biggest mistakes or trends that you're seeing today?
Well, I think really probably on the franchisee side, there's a lot of people that are interested in getting into the space that maybe just aren't ready. I mean, there's a lot of like CEO type or C-level type folks that are maybe looking to get out of corporate America, that want to do something for themselves, and a lot of them are a good fit. But then there's a lot of them that aren't. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. You're gonna lose sleep. You're gonna have to complain and cry to your wife, and there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's not everybody's cut out to be an entrepreneur. So you got to really think to yourself, hey, am I gonna be okay doing this? Because it's not going to be an overnight success most of the time. You got to put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and be ready to go without a paycheck for a little while. Hopefully you can get profitable quickly, but make sure you're set up to have a little backup cash there. So that's really my biggest concern a lot of times, is just finding the right fit for franchisees. And of course, not every concept is right for every person either. So you got to first figure out, A, am I cut out to be an entrepreneur, and then B, what is really the right type of business, right industry, right system for me to work in.
I couldn't agree more. Having started multiple businesses, including franchises myself, there have been those days where I'm complaining at my wife, and I say at, because sometimes it's at and not just to.
Right.
And then we're business partners today. So now there's times that she does it right back at me. So it's this nice little whirlwind effect that we're getting on. So I'm sure you've dealt with that as well, and know many clients that have fallen into that. What are the questions that I haven't asked that you would love to cover about what you and your team do today to either help franchisors, help franchisees, what have you? What have I missed that we should talk about?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you've covered it pretty well. I mean, I just I like every aspect of franchising. I feel like I can give some pretty valuable input, whether you're looking to franchise your business, if you're looking to buy a franchise, if you're looking to sell a franchise, if you're looking for investment in a franchise. I can help with franchise real estate and build outs and pretty much the whole gamut. So if it's anything franchise related, I love talking about it. And, even if you're not necessarily working with me, I'm happy to just talk about it and give advice. And, I love to learn about, other business owners, other founders while they're getting in business. So that's just love learning about new businesses.
Well, I love it. How does someone reach out to you and your team and inquire, either just to get some information and some advice, or potentially lean in and have you assist them in wherever they're at in their journey?
Well, you can give me a call at 804-640-4527, or my email address is Kent, Kent, at adams-franchising.com.
Love that. Scroll down. We'll put that in there in case you didn't catch it. I will say this. We are just shy of 300 episodes now.
Awesome.
You were the first person who gave out their cell phone number. So kudos to you. Everybody says, go to the website, fill out a thing. You're doing the phone. Call me.
Call me. Text me.
I love that. Kent, this was fantastic. I know you're super busy. You're involved in several different concepts all the time. Obviously, you have a team to support you, but you're a super busy guy doing all those things. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day on Tuesday to come be on here with me for 30-ish minutes and talk to myself and my audience about what you do, your your past, your history, and how you support people. I can't say thank you enough for taking time out of your day.
I appreciate it, Joe. You're more than welcome, and I really enjoyed it.
Same here. For everybody out there listening, here was my biggest takeaway personally. Franchise brands don't scale necessarily because they grow. They scale because the systems work beyond them. So if your systems are not documented, repeatable, and easily enforced for accountability purposes, you don't have a scalable business. You just have effort. If you're serious about building a scalable, sellable franchise or looking into entrepreneurship, obviously Kent is somebody you should reach out to. He left his cell phone number. Scroll down, give him a call. Let's blow his phone up. You can also reach out to myself and my team at twinflametx.com or to apply for advisory or just have a free consultative call. Until next time, I'm Joe Carter. This is the Franchise Growth Show. Continue building with pride and building a legacy that lasts. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you all.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you want